listeners, and welcome to the Liberty Mike podcast, broadcasting from an undisclosed location in the heart of Dixie. I am Michael, and I am here with Liberty Larry.
How's it going?
Doing okay. How are you?
Pretty good.
Good.
Yeah.
I don't know how to start today.
I don't know. I say we start with the drama up top.
The drama?
Yeah.
Which drama?
There's
a lot of dramas going on.
There's a lot of dramas going on. The end of the bromance.
Oh, yeah. You know, when people first started talking about they're breaking up, etc., I thought it was ridiculous because it was a temporary position that had run its course.
And so just the other day, was it Monday?
We're talking about Elon leaving.
Yeah, obviously.
And I guess Doge dismantling or whatever is happening with that from here.
Well, I think Doge is going to continue on as far as I know. I don't think Trump has said anything about doing away with Doge. But, I mean, it was always going to be Elon leaving after 168 days or so. I don't remember.
Yeah, I thought it was between 120 and 150, I thought.
It's something like that. I don't honestly know. I don't remember. I mean, it was they talked about it at the the key giving ceremony that Trump did. And honestly, I thought after that, I was like, all right, well, Elon had already been coming out against this big, beautiful bill. And so, I was like, all right, well, Elon's going to go back to doing his thing and, just not be as involved in politics, and him and Trump will be fine.
Yeah.
And
well,
that has not been the case.
No, I mean, it's unfortunate for him because he had some good ideas, although he was never really swinging for the fences. Elon,
yeah.
There was a lot of talk of, we're going to go after the Pentagon and so forth, but they never did.
No.
Which isn't a total surprise because Elon's a notable portion of his business's revenue
comes from that industry.
Yeah. So that's not, I guess, really a surprise, but they did... in the end, they accomplished almost nothing because none of the Doge cuts were incorporated into the big, beautiful bill.
And I think that's a big part of Elon's complaint is that, we did all of this stuff, but it takes Congress to do this. And Trump is pushing this bill as hard as he's pushed anything in his life.
Yeah.
And Elon's kind of left out of it. Yeah. Or Doge is kind of left out of it.
And he's all excited. Trump is, because we're legitimately giving $1 trillion to the defense industry
right.
now.
Yeah.
Not just when you start adding up all the stuff that goes to the defense industry that isn't part of that department, like the nuclear stuff under the Department of Energy and things like that.
Yeah.
VA that's covered separately and all those kind of things.
Yeah.
In the end, Doge has accomplished almost nothing. All they really were able to do is to make these issues public.
Yeah.
Which
is not nothing.
Yeah, it's definitely a good thing. It's nice that people are talking about it. I don't understand the hardcore Trump supporters that are promoting this bill too, since
it really is a cult thing.
Yeah.
And that's really what it boils down to. And the hardcore Trump people, that's what they are. They're members of a cult. Whatever Trump says is what we're doing. Hi ho, here we go.
Yeah.
And it's not a good thing.
No, agreed.
So, especially with Trump, because Trump is so just swings from one side to the other. He's so good on so many things and then so bad on so many more things.
Yeah.
That it's just one of those deals.
And then there's so many things that he's good on one day and bad on the next.
Well, exactly, which is why it blows my mind that people can be so hardcore in his corner.
Yeah.
I get having a small segment that's that way, but he's got a pretty good segment that just whatever he says goes, regardless of how much.
Even if it's different than what he said yesterday.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that I just don't understand.
I don't either. Well, it seems that at this point, though, Elon's decided to go scorched earth on his way out. I don't.
Yeah, it's one of those. So it was so funny. Before yesterday, it was all the talk they disagree on this bill, and Trump's really kept his mouth shut and hadn't really went too hard on him, and then all of a sudden, I don't even know what the catalyst for it, but they started going back and forth on Twitter. I guess maybe it was when because he was meeting with somebody from Germany yesterday. Was it the chancellor? Merz, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And they started asking him questions in the questions in the Oval Office about it, and then Elon started responding to him in real time on Twitter, and I think it just kind of spiraled from there. Is my understanding of it. Like, I mean, as much as I followed it, I mean, it's like 2 different social media networks I'm trying to like pull information from, and this, that, and the other. But talking about scorch the earth, that tweet about Trump being in the Epstein files, like there ain't no coming back from that. I don't feel like.
Yeah. Well, Tulsi hasn't put that stuff out.
Well, and everybody's been saying for a while, like there's a reason that this has not came out.
Mm-hmm.
And the truth is I think the reason is because both sides, I'm talking about Republicans and Democrats,
it's because everybody of power is in the Epstein files.
Exactly, because a lot of people's been making the case, oh, he's definitely in there, or if he was, the Trump supporters are saying, well, if he was in there, then Biden's administration would have released it and blah blah blah. It's like, no, they wouldn't, because their people's in there too.
Yeah, you can't selectively release.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, it just won't work.
It won't work. Exactly.
The only way to keep it under wraps is for nobody to release it, because if one side releases part of it, when the other side takes office, then they'll release the rest.
Exactly. So I think in the end that's the truth. And whether or not Trump is actually in there or not, Trump don't want to release it because he don't want to hurt the Republicans that are in it.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's really what it boils down. Now, Trump may be in there. I'm not saying I know one way or the other. By the way, Elon doesn't know one way or the other either. He's just speculating the same way we are. But I mean, I think that's probably more the truth, is that there's just so many people implicated that are in positions of power that neither side is interested in going into that can of worms.
Yeah, and Tulsi's become more of a yes man than I had expected.
Well, they all have. Same with Cash.
Yeah.
Code Bongino. Like, the whole group is, I mean, they've all kind of, it feels like there's a lot of selling out going on.
Yeah, I guess so. Shouldn't be surprised.
Should not be surprised, but disappointed is a fair. I mean,
I guess the only one that didn't end up selling out in the end was Musk.
Right. Well, that is the truth, because like I say, he went in wanting to cut government, and he's going out doing the same. I mean, that is what the fallout's truly over.
Yeah.
As much as Trump wants to make it about every other thing that it's just not, I mean, that is what this is about.
Yeah. And then Trump threatened to pull all of his government contracts.
Well, yeah.
And I'm like all for that, by the way.
Yeah, right. Well, and then Elon responded, is like, okay,
just cancel all government contracts. Don't even stop with Elon. Just cancel all government contracts.
Yeah, well, that's never going to happen, obviously. But yeah, now Elon's talking about disassembling the rocket that.
Oh yeah,
is it something dragon? I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know. I figured you. I don't. I figured you followed it closer than me.
No. I thought that it disassembled itself when they launched it, or when it came back to Earth.
Oh.
In the Indian Ocean the other day.
Oh, it may have. I don't know.
I think.
Once again, I don't follow all of that close. I have friends that do, but I'm not.
What's the term that they used at SpaceX?
A while back.
Rapid unscheduled disassembly or something.
That's exactly what it was.
That's a great phrase, by the way. Talk about a euphemism.
Right.
That's one of the best.
Yeah.
Okay. Well.
Like I say, I mean, it's a lot's being made out of all of this, and of course, I do got to float the other theory that's out there, even though I don't really buy into it. Is that this is all just for the media, and that Trump and
this
Elon
is a distraction?
Are still, yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
that they're still good.
From...
Who knows?
Yeah.
I mean, well, there's a lot going on that we're going to talk about tonight. So, I mean, there's plenty of things that this could be a distraction from. I don't think so, though. I feel like this is pretty genuine, but people are floating that this is all, like, they're still good, and they're just, messing with everybody.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. All right. Well, what do you want to hit next?
I don't know. What you got? What's next on the docket?
I got a lot of things. Let's do an addition to the last podcast, and then some silly things, and then we'll get back into serious stuff.
Okay.
All right. So I did want to talk again about the COVID shot being removed from the recommended for healthy children and pregnant women, and healthy pregnant women.
Yeah.
Because they're continuing to talk about this like this is some kind of huge disaster, because apparently if it is not on the recommended list, then insurance companies aren't required to pay for it.
Yeah.
And so, of course, everybody's saying, well, then insurance won't pay for it because they don't want to pay for anything. And there's some truth in that.
There is, yeah.
But what insurance companies are looking at is the bottom line. I kind of want to dispel this myth right here.
Okay.
If it is effective, then insurance will pay for it because insurance will do for whatever costs them the least in the long run.
Yeah.
So if it costs less to give people the shot than it costs to treat people that don't get the shot that get the illness.
Yeah.
So if the illness is more severe if you don't get the shot, or if the illness is significantly less likely if you don't get the shot, then the insurance companies will pay for the shot because in the long run that will cost them less.
Yeah. Unless you just like go into the hospital and die immediately from COVID.
Well, yeah, but that's not what happens.
Which was the argument. Well, it was the argument for a while.
Well, COVID's certainly become less and less and less severe over time.
Well, there's no question about that.
Far less likely to end in death than it was at the very beginning when it was a novel virus, a novel, probably constructed virus.
Yeah. Well, they were also putting people on those ventilators. That was not like the opposite of what needed to be done, apparently. There
are plenty of doctors who have made the case that the ventilators were killing people at the beginning too. So
well, it seems to have bared it out because we quit doing that.
Yeah, but again, this is like saying, well, the government intervention prevented a bunch of COVID deaths. Like COVID just became less severe over time.
Well, there's that.
So the results, or which one is the cause, is hard to say.
I agree with that.
But anyway, the point is that if the shots were effective, then insurance, if the shots are effective, like the people that are worried about this claim, then the insurance will continue to pay for them.
Oh, absolutely.
And if the shots are not effective, like some of us claim, then you're probably right. Insurance probably won't pay for it.
And they know what the answer to that is.
Yeah.
The people that are making this argument know that, I mean, they have to know at this point that those shots aren't as effective as they're making them out to be. Mm-hmm. At the least, they may believe that it's a good and that you should get it.
Yeah.
But they have to know that it's not as necessary as it's made out to be.
Well, it's one of those, won't someone please think of the children type of appeals. And even in the height of COVID, it was like 15% of parents that were getting their kids the COVID shot anyway.
Yeah.
So I can't imagine that I think it's probably a very small percentage of parents that are still getting COVID shots for their kids anyway.
Oh, yeah. Has to
at this point. And so it hardly matters.
Yeah.
I mean,
but it keeps it in the news cycle. It keeps people talking about it. Like, I mean, that can't be underplayed.
Yeah. Well,
it's got us talking about it.
Yeah. I was sick this week, and my boss asked that I get a note from my doctor to return from work.
Yeah.
And in fact, I had no intentions of going to the doctor because I was like, I just have a cold or the flu or something.
Yeah.
And he said, yeah, probably, but what if it's infectious? I was like, well, that's why I'm home.
Yeah.
Working from home. I'm not in the office.
Yeah.
And they're not going to do anything. And he insisted that I go get tested for everything under the sun. And
which they can do in one swab now, apparently.
Yes, yeah. And I tested negative for everything. And then I didn't get a note when I first went in there. I just tested negative for everything and didn't even think about it after that. And he asked for a note, so I had to call them back and ask for a note, which I thought was, which actually I found
made
kind
you
of
feel
insulting.
like a third grader.
Yeah. When he asked me about it, I was like, I don't think that they generally do that for adults.
Yeah, they do. I promise they do. But
I have learned since then that they do in fact do this for adults. But I mean, I get it if you're like working at a fast food place or something like that, where you've got generally unreliable people. But like, I work in a professional office. I just thought
we could take our word for it.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, it wasn't a question of whether I was sick or not. It was a question of whether it was safe for me to return to work, though.
Well, that's how it was brought to you initially.
Yeah. Well, honestly, I think that it is a liability question for him because it was during COVID.
Yeah. Well, yeah. There was a time where that was a thing.
Yeah. There was a real concern from the corporate lawyers that if somebody returned to work and got other people sick, that those people could then sue the company.
Which was crazy because, I mean, to think back on it now is just insane. But we were keeping people out of work at one point for like 14 days.
Yeah.
Like, that is insane.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sorry. Like, even then when everything was so crazy, I was like, this just doesn't make logical sense. Like,
no, I know.
Somebody's not contagious for 14 days.
Yeah.
Like that. I mean, I know it's a novel virus and we're learning, but we know something.
Yeah.
We know more than that. Like,
I mean, well, so Sunday I was running a fever and I was coughing. And so Monday I was like, yeah, I'm not coming into the office, and I work from home on Tuesdays anyway. So, I figure once I've passed the fever part, I'm probably safe.
well, yeah, exactly.
And I was actually safe enough that I couldn't even test positive for anything that they were testing for. So,
yeah, exactly.
Anyway, that was an interesting experience.
Yeah.
Now, because that wasn't the funny stuff. The funny stuff to me is now Karine Jean-Pierre, the former Biden White House spokesliar, is coming out with a book. I think it's coming out in October. I don't remember, but she's pre-selling now, called Independent, a look inside a broken White House outside the party lines.
You can't
I have
make this
no words.
up. Yeah, you can't make it up, man.
Like, this is just as ridiculous as Jake Tapper's.
Yeah, we couldn't report on what was going on because we didn't know.
Yeah, like Karine Jean-Pierre is one of the people primarily responsible for covering up that broken White House.
Yeah, exactly.
That was literally her job.
Yeah, right.
And now I don't think that she's going to provide any insight, but people like the dish, so they'll
buy the
buy
book.
It.
Yeah.
But
the book will sell. But it's just astonishing to me that everybody can try to run away from this now. Mm-hmm. When we all were watching it in real time, like, this guy has dementia. Like, I'm sorry, like, it sucks, but like, he shouldn't be in the White House. Like,
well, and she was trying to get a good newscast type of job afterwards, as I understand it.
Oh, really?
This is the rumor anyway. I have no way of confirming this.
Yeah.
But what she wanted after she left was to have one of these, like Jen Psaki got.
Yeah, one of these news shows, little thing.
Exactly. The problem
collect
is
some big paychecks and be on TV.
Yeah. Karine Jean-Pierre, while she definitely got better during her time,
she was so bad.
She's incompetent.
She is.
And it's amazing to me. It's like they're tattling on themselves. She got this job because of her identity.
Yeah.
Because she is a black, lesbian, female, immigrant, etc. That was why she was given this job.
So many boxes.
And
it's amazing to me that they couldn't find somebody that checked all those boxes that was good.
Yeah.
Like, that's what blows my mind.
She's pretty. I will still say I think that she's an attractive woman. But at any rate, she was terrible at her job, even though she got better. But she's just not very bright.
She
as
was
far as
never
I can tell.
good, though. Like, you're right. She got better, but she never got good.
Yeah. If it wasn't in her little notebook, she had no idea what to say.
Exactly.
But now she's coming out and she's saying that it was a broken White House.
Yeah.
Like, isn't that kind of implying that it was a broken White House maybe because instead of getting good people, they got people like her?
Exactly.
That were black and female and, whatever else.
Box
whatever
checkers.
minority
they got they got box checkers.
Yeah, that they could add on. And so maybe that's why the White House was broken. It just feels like they're tattling on themselves, and it kind of cracks me up.
Wow.
And she's also urging people. Now, on this part, I agree with her. She's trying to come out and say that both parties are a disaster and we need something else.
Interesting that should be said, because Elon said the same thing. He even put a poll on Twitter. And with like 80-something% of people was like, yeah, we need a new party.
Yeah. Like libertarians.
Well, Angela McArdle apparently commented on the thing and was like, oh, you should come to the Libertarian Party. It's pretty easy to take over.
Yeah.
so do with that information what you will.
She's the new Mises Caucus
I heard that.
chair or something, I think.
Yeah, I heard that, yeah. I haven't tried to validate it.
I thought she was going to do something else with her life when she stepped down as party chair instead of being involved with libertarian politics.
I think she thought that too.
Oh, well, that could be. That could be.
So, I don't know. I'm not that into all of that, so I don't know.
Okay. Well, which of our stupid wars do you want to talk about next?
I don't know. Well, which one? I don't know. You pick.
Well, I think that people are more focused on Ukraine at the moment.
So we should save it for last.
Okay. That works for me.
Yeah.
All right. Well, things are still going on in Gaza.
Yeah.
Terrible, terrible things are still going on in Gaza.
Like, it really is bad.
And so I want to play a clip to start this off. And cover your children's ears here, because there's some pretty horrific stuff in this clip. But Dr. Fariz Sidwa, I left all his credentials at the front of the clip, so you can hear it again. But and I don't remember exactly where he's out of. I think it was out of Stockton. Anyway, he's an American physician that has volunteered to work in conflict zones kind of all over the world. And he has done 2 stints in Gaza at this point. And he spoke to the UN about his experiences there. And he talked for about 10 minutes, and I urge everybody to look up, look it up. You can find it on YouTube or probably anywhere that you can find videos, but and listen to the whole thing. But I clipped together some parts that I thought were particularly important, and I want people to hear this, because I don't think that most people, unless you're listening to alternative media, if you don't go outside the mainstream, if you don't go outside the mainstream, you're probably not listening to us.
Yeah,
but
there's that.
If you primarily get your news from the mainstream, you're probably not hearing what's going on here to the same degree. And
if you are hearing, because like I said, we talked about this before we started recording. There's a couple of news organizations that does cover some of this, but I haven't heard this clip, so I'm interested to hear. But I don't think that they cover it to the gravity that we're gonna hear here.
Yeah,
and that I feel like the mainstream media, if they cover it at all too, they kind of just brush over it, and don't really dig into what's truly going on to this group of people.
Yeah. So let's play the clip and we'll comment more after.
All right.
My name is Dr. Feroz Sidwa. I am an American trauma and critical care surgeon based in Stockton, California. I come before you today to speak about the Gaza Strip, where I have volunteered twice since October 7th. First at European Hospital from March 25th to April 8th of last year, and most recently at Nasser Medical Complex from March 6th to April 1st of 2025. Both are in the city of Khan Yunis. I'm not here as a policymaker or a politician. I'm a physician bearing witness to the deliberate destruction of a healthcare system, the targeting of my own colleagues, and the erasure of a people. I did not see or treat a single combatant during my 5 weeks in Gaza. My patients were 6-year-olds with shrapnels in their heart and bullets in their brains, and pregnant women whose pelvises had been obliterated and their fetuses cut in two while still in the womb. The medical system has not failed. It has been systematically dismantled through a sustained military campaign that has willfully violated international humanitarian law. Civilians are now dying not just from the constant airstrikes, but from acute malnutrition, sepsis, exposure, and despair. And let's not forget This is a man-made catastrophe. It is entirely preventable. Participating in it or not, allowing it to happen is a choice. This is a deliberate denial of conditions necessary for life: food, shelter, water, and medicine. Preventing genocide means refusing to normalize these atrocities. It means refusing to dehumanize the Palestinians, to refuse to see them as calories counted or numbers of trucks moved. We see now that this way of thinking has brought about a human dignity crisis, with an entire people on the edge of survival.
Okay, he does finish with some specific things that the UN can do to try and alleviate this.
Yeah. Like force Israel to let food in.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I haven't even heard, but like that's my guess
Yeah.
is like that's because they've been starving these people. What, 2 weeks now? I mean,
Longer
than that, really. But
50 years.
yeah, but I'm talking about like seriously.
Yeah.
Like, no, you're right. 50 years is the correct response. But like, I mean, this is like they've been like legit not letting stuff in for a couple of weeks now.
Yeah, and claiming it's the UN's fault.
Yeah, yeah, which is wild.
Actually, I guess they're kind of vacillating between claiming that it's the UN's fault and bragging about starving people in Gaza.
Yeah, depending on which audience they're speaking to.
Right. It's kind of unreal what's going on. So, but yeah, that's one of the things. He's opened all the crossings to humanitarian aid, food, medical supplies, allow medical evacuations to other areas, which including the West Bank and East Jerusalem, where the Palestinians can be treated by Palestinian doctors. Of course, the release of all hostages on both sides, the freezing of all arms sales to both sides,
right,
etc.
Which goes back to, we've talked about this before, but it just irritates me. Like, we hold the cards here, us being the U.S. government.
Yeah.
Like, we can put an end to this tomorrow. And we can't fix all of the problems that are going on here, but we can put an end to a whole lot of the suffering by doing exactly that. Like, stop funding Israel and giving them all of these weapons, and just like, we have the air power and the missile power to stop them from bombing these areas.
Yeah.
Like, and just tell them, look, we are not going to allow you to bomb this area anymore until we figure this out and actually come up and figure out a solution for these people.
Yeah, and I think that a point there that's really worth driving home explicitly is that the United States taxpayer is paying for what that guy just talked about.
Yes. 100, like, absolutely. That is, it's disgusting.
Yes. And at the same time that this is going on, the Israeli government approved more colonizing, like the largest group of colonizing annexations of the West Bank that they've ever approved in the past. So while they're obliterating Gaza, they're stealing the West Bank still.
Yeah.
And if you want to make the claim that the reason that they're obliterating Gaza is Hamas, you can't make that claim about the West Bank. Hamas doesn't exist in the West Bank.
Yeah.
I was listening to an interview with Aaron Mate earlier this week that was really interesting. And he was brought up in a Zionist household, but there was a point at which his family rejected
what's happening,
at least the methods of how Zionism was being implemented. But he was talking about, he made this point, and I found this to be really interesting, is that, we're constantly asked to affirm the right to exist of Israel or of the Jewish people.
Yep.
Constantly asked to reaffirm that. And I was kind of surprised, because he's more of a statist than I am. I was kind of surprised to hear him agree with me that states don't have rights.
Yeah.
There is no right to exist for Israel or for Palestine.
Okay.
The right to exist for Israel or Palestine doesn't exist. People have rights, not states.
Yeah.
Now, he said the states have collective rights of the people. I don't agree with that, but all rights are individual rights as far as I'm concerned. But he did say that, we're constantly asked to reaffirm that the Jewish people, we'll just stick with that. We'll leave the states out.
Yeah.
That the Jewish people have the right to exist. Although I think it is worth pointing out that he said, we're constantly asked to reaffirm that Israel has the right to exist. Nobody ever asks us to affirm that Palestine has the right to exist, and Israel actually does exist.
Yeah.
Like, this is a state that's already there, and it's land that was stolen from the Palestinians.
Yeah.
But again, leaving that aside, that the Jewish people have the right to exist, but nobody ever asks if the Palestinians have the right to exist.
Yeah.
And if one does, so does the other.
Absolutely.
And
these people are there. Like, that's what I just can't get over, the fact that all of these people are here, are in that area, and that we can't come up with some kind of solution for where these people can, like, giving these people a state.
Yeah.
Like, why can't we just find some way to carve out an area of land that can be theirs? And I don't mean like an open air prison like Gaza. I mean like a legit place where they can exist and not have the Israelis just dominating them.
Well, it's funny you should say that, because the UN has, I think, 193 nations as members.
Okay.
Every year they vote on a two-state solution, the creation of a Palestinian state based on the 1967 borders.
Okay.
All right. Every year.
Yeah.
Which is already like more than Israel was originally granted.
Yeah.
Of other people's land.
Yeah. Yeah.
And every year that vote fails. Yeah. And every year that vote fails because the United States vote.
Really?
Yep. Security Council has a veto vote. The vote usually goes between 165 to 185 nations for the creation of a Palestinian state, and 8 to 38 or whatever nations against.
Yeah.
And the U.S. is the only reason that it gets blocked every year. And what's more is that the nations that are voting against the creation of a Palestinian state, Israel, obviously, the United States, and then a bunch of tiny little nothing nations that, and I would say that number of nations voting against depends on greatly on how much foreign aid the U.S. government
is giving
out.
Yeah, yeah. How many votes we're buying?
Yeah,
yeah.
But the vast majority of countries in this world believe in the creation of a Palestinian state.
Well, it just seems like such a simple solution to a very difficult problem, because I'm not going to try to say that this is not a difficult problem, because it absolutely is. But it doesn't, like, the solution doesn't seem like it should be. I get that trying to get nations together and make decisions is a hard thing to do, but the solution is sitting right there.
Yeah. And of course, I'm not a big supporter of the UN or anything, but according to international law, the Palestinians have the right to fight. The Israelis don't.
Yeah.
Palestinians are living on occupied territory.
Yeah.
And there is, in international law, the right of resistance to occupation.
Yeah.
I got a cat that's going nuts back there.
Yeah, I hear it. I'm trying to ignore it.
But yet the United States is on the wrong side of this thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I know that there's a bunch of idiots out there that are, cheering for Palestine or Hamas. Well, there's very few that are cheering for Hamas, but regardless of how it's portrayed.
The truth is, I'm not cheering for either side. Like, I just want this to be over.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I don't, there's plenty of bad on both sides of this conflict. Like, I mean, there just is. Like, one side has more power than the other, so it's easy to get to be hard on the side that has the options and the power. But at the same time, both sides are wrong here.
Yeah.
Like, they just are. Like, I mean, what needs to happen is a big nation like the U.S. or China or somebody needs to put their foot down and make them figure this out. I mean, that's what it's going to take.
Well, unfortunately, we're continually proving that we can't do that. And not in Israel. I mean, like, we're incapable of forcing a weak, battle destroyed nation to capitulate.
Yeah.
And here I'm talking about, we're shifting gears a little.
Yeah, let's shift it.
And talking about the Ukraine-Russia situation.
Yeah.
So this is what I keep hearing from people. In fact, Viktor Orban from Hungary. Do you remember? I guess it was about a year ago. He went on this big tour where he was trying to negotiate peace between Ukraine and Russia, and was talking to the leaders of a bunch of nations, including Putin, including Zelensky, and trying to instigate some kind of end to this.
Yeah.
By the way, like really at that time, he was the only person doing that.
That was even making an attempt.
Yeah. And we talked about it then, and because we were happy that at least somebody was doing this. So he, it wasn't an interview; it was like a round table that I saw him in just recently, and he was talking about his meeting with Zelensky, and among other things. But he said, I didn't talk about this publicly at the time, but now I feel like it's okay to talk about it. He said Zelensky. He sat down with Zelensky and he said, you need to negotiate. This is good for you. You need to bring an end to this, and it'll, to stop the destruction and the killing in your nation. Like, you can't win this. You're in a bad position. You need to bring about a peace.
Yeah.
And Zelensky said, no, you have it all wrong.
Yeah.
Russia will inevitably lose. We will win militarily against Russia.
Yeah. He's drinking the Kool-Aid.
Yeah. And at this point, Orban is saying, I was like, okay.
Yeah. Let me know how that works out for you, buddy.
And then he tried to explain again, and he said Zelensky was adamant that Ukraine had the power to defeat Russia militarily on the battlefield.
Yeah.
And he says the guy's delusional.
Yeah. Exactly.
Like, he can't be convinced. He said, this is what I would tell Trump, or something like that. I'm paraphrasing a lot here because I just saw it briefly, but he's like, this is what I'd tell Trump, is that you can't convince this guy that he's in a bad position.
Well, I mean, that big to-do in the Oval Office kind of demonstrates that.
Yeah.
That Zelensky thinks, to use the analogy, thinks he holds a bunch of cards here that he just don't have.
Yeah. And we got Lindsey Graham over there encouraging him.
Exactly.
Apparently.
It looks that way.
And so now, oh man, like a lot's happened in the last week. But Zelensky was talking real big after their attack on the Russian strategic bombers.
Yeah.
And, there was some destruction. They attacked something like 5 air bases. It's pretty impressive that they got all these drones in there secretly and got them close enough to do some damage. Now, Zelensky was saying that it was a huge blow to the Russian military power. Russia has proved in the last couple of days that it absolutely wasn't. It is not really affecting their air power.
You are underestimating the air power of the Russian government.
Yeah. And they couldn't ignore what happened.
Well, yeah.
And it's terrible for us. Now, I've seen some pretty convincing evidence that the U.S. wasn't directly involved, although I think it's a problem either way. If either the U.S. was directly involved with these attacks on the strategic bombers, or if the U.S. was unaware of that these attacks were coming, both of those are a huge failure by the U.S. government and U.S. intelligence services. But I have seen some pretty convincing discussion that the primary aid to the Ukrainian government in these attacks was the British government, UK government.
Okay. Yeah.
And of course, Keir Starmer does seem like to be the biggest hawk of all hawks out there, Russia hawks.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't surprise me. The Gray Zone had actually released some information about inside information from MI6 that talked about exactly these kinds of attacks.
Yeah.
So pretty good evidence that that MI6 or the UK government was the one that was primarily involved with the Ukraine government in launching these attacks, planning and launching these attacks.
Yeah.
Not the US government, which is in some ways good.
Yeah.
I guess. But like I said, whether the U.S. government was involved or was unaware, both of those are equally bad.
Yeah.
And the real problem, this is a huge escalation and something that the the Russians absolutely cannot ignore is an attack on their nuclear triad.
Yeah.
And the reason that it looked so easy that they're just going down the line, blowing up all these bombers on the tarmac is because one of the agreements with the United States that Russia has is that all strategic assets have to be visible by satellite.
Yeah.
That's why they're out on the tarmac, is so that the United States can look down from many, many miles up and know that the Russian strategic
on the ground
assets
and
are
not in
sitting
the
on
air.
and they're not armed.
Yeah, exactly. So,
and it works the same the other way. Now, you take advantage of that situation,
yeah,
and that situation might change.
exactly.
And then you've created a whole new fear and concern around, because if you can't see that all those strategic assets are sitting on the tarmac and that they're not armed with nuclear weapons, then you start wondering where they are and what they're armed with.
Yeah.
And you don't want states to have those kind of concerns.
Well, especially us and Russia.
Yeah.
Like in particular, us and Russia.
So they were exposed because of a safeguards agreement that the U.S. and the Russians have.
Yeah.
And the Ukraine, who we're supporting still, took advantage of that situation. And that's, I can't stress enough how bad that is.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Like, that's a real step in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
And the Russians have since responded. Now, it does sound like, so Putin and Trump had a long phone call, although, like, translation back and forth and so forth, an hour and 15-minute phone call is probably 30 minutes of actual talking.
Content,
but,
yeah.
But Putin told Trump, like, we have to respond to this.
Yeah.
And it sounds like Trump was like, yeah,
okay.
yeah, you do.
Yeah.
And Russia has been responding.
Yeah.
And they're pummeling Ukraine's infrastructure.
Yeah.
Military and power infrastructure.
Yeah.
And Zelensky still thinks he can win. Although, like, since that Orban came through and talked to him a year ago, Ukraine has captured 0 territory and the Russians have captured a lot.
Well, it's one of those, it's a slow burn. Like, what Putin's trying to do is to advance his military while taking as few casualties as possible and
causing as many.
Yeah, and causing as many as he can, just like it's just like a meat grinder. Like it's a slow burn though. It's not like this. And I mean, maybe there was a lot of bluff talk at the beginning of this of just like riding the Kyiv.
Yeah.
But at the end, that's not what he wants to do, because that's going to cause more casualties on his end than he wants. And he's got time. He's got no reason to be in a hurry to end this thing quick.
Yeah.
He's got all the incentive to just like slow roll this thing through as far as he wants to go.
And apparently Zelensky thinks time is on Ukraine's side.
Wow. It's astonishing to me that somebody can be that blinded.
Mm-hmm. Here's the problem that we have, both in the Russia-Ukraine and the Israel-Iran potential conflict.
Yeah.
Is that you have 2 states in Ukraine and Israel that have a strong vested interest in drawing the United States into a war on their side.
Yep.
And like, what are the limitations? Here's another thing. Like, I've been thinking about this all week because of the way Ukraine has acted in this. Now, Trump was yelling at Putin last week about causing all these civilian casualties. There were like 9 civilian casualties or something with all the bombing and drone attacks that the Russians had launched at that time. Ukraine is the only one that's actually targeting civilian areas with their attacks. Russia has actually done a surprisingly good job at limiting civilian casualties, it seems to me, based on my assessment of this.
Well, when you gauge what type of military they have and how they're using it, because I think that's kind of the stick you have to use. Like, I mean, you're talking about an advanced military in the Russians that has the capability to do some stuff.
Yeah.
way more than
if they wanted to cause mass civilian casualties,
they're capable.
Yeah, would not be difficult. And what I keep pointing that back to is that Israel caused more civilian casualties in Gaza in a month than Russia had at that time of that attack, which had been a year and a half of war.
Yeah. Well, and you got two militaries trying to do two different things.
Yeah.
Is what essentially is going on here, But both militaries that we back that has just complete disregard for what we think or what we want.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I guess Ukraine has decided that they can get enough support from the Germans and the Brits that...
Well, and I say let them do it. Like I say, I mean...
Well, it sounds like Trump kind of said that too. He made some comment about we're just going to have to let them fight for a while.
Yeah. Well, and as long as they're not using our money, I mean, I don't like it, but, I'm a lot more comfortable just stepping away if we're not aiding Ukraine.
Yeah. If we're not aiding Ukraine, though, we have no leash to throw on them, though. Well, it doesn't look like it's working anyway, but, I mean, to try and prevent them from doing something stupid like attacking the nuclear triad, if we don't have a dog in the hunt, then I don't know how we restrict them in any way. And
this is just my opinion, but just let them go at it. It's not, if we're not giving them anything, then Russia has no reason to look at us like, why are you aiding and helping this?
Yeah, but that doesn't mean that it can't go nuclear.
Yeah. I mean,
and that's the real concern.
Well, yeah, but on their side of the world.
Well, true. I mean, it's not advantageous for Russia to launch nukes into Ukraine because Russia is on the prevailing winds side.
Yeah.
So any nuclear fallout would be pushed into Russia.
Yeah.
But this is what I've been thinking about the last week or so. The way the Ukrainian government has been acting, I'm so glad that they don't have nuclear weapons. Because I really feel like if you had the question of, do you think that Ukraine would have used nuclear weapons by this point in the war if they had them? I think it's an unequivocal yes.
Yeah. I mean, their actions kind of bear that out,
I mean, I guess we can't know for sure, but I don't think that it's really even a question.
Yeah. Zelensky doesn't seem to have the composure that Putin has.
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean...
we don't want to get rid of Putin. So there was another attempt to assassinate Putin too.
Yeah, I guess we should talk about
that. Just briefly, I don't think that the U.S. was involved in that. That seems like a situation that would be a lot easier to just have somebody on the inside. And it wouldn't surprise me at all if Ukraine has people placed at higher levels than the Russian government. Yeah. People that are either agree with the Ukrainian cause, that are sympathetic to the Ukrainian cause, or that are just looking for their opportunity to move up in their own government or whatever. There's a lot of ways that could happen without the U.S. involvement. So I don't think that we played any part in that. And I think that anybody on our side that is paying any attention at all would be really glad that Putin is in charge of that government, not somebody else.
Yeah, because whatever comes out of Putin after Putin is going to be worse.
Yeah.
Especially if there's any implication that we had a hand in removing him.
Yeah. And whether we did or not, that's the way it'll be played. Well,
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's all I've got, really.
All right. I thought we had something else, though. That's it.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think so. I don't see anything else in my notes.
Yeah, I don't have
what about
anything
your
else
notes?
in my head, so.
All right.
I guess that's it.
Well, then I guess we'll go ahead and wrap up on that positive note.
Yeah.
Of at least Ukraine doesn't have nuclear weapons.
Yeah, Ukraine does not have nuclear weapons. That's a win.
And this war is going to end soon. I'm not going to say soon, but I feel like it's wrapping up.
Yeah.
We're at the end of this. Those attacks, they tried to invade Kursk again. I guess they've made a little bit of progress in that. The attacks on the strategic bombers, This is Ukrainian desperation. They're looking for a big media hit to get support on their side again. And these things look good. Like that drone footage of them attacking the bombers, like that looked impressive.
Yeah.
But they didn't really do anything.
Yeah.
And but that's just a sign that, to me, that the Ukrainian government or the Ukrainian military is at the end. Yeah. That they're doing what they can to make a big splash to try and get some more support, but it's really desperation.
Yeah.
So I hope that this draws to a close. I think it's unfortunate that Trump was unable to make a deal anywhere.
Yeah.
Except for selling more weapons. He has succeeded in selling more weapons.
Yeah.
Oh well. U.S. biggest industry.
Yeah, right. Gotta make that money.
Taxpayer subsidized. We complain about Chinese subsidizing industries, and yet
yeah, our biggest industry is the most subsidized.
Yeah. So. All right. So we'll wrap up there. We plan to be here next week. In the meantime, you can follow us on Facebook. You can subscribe on iTunes, YouTube, Podbean, like and share. Comment. You can always email me, Michael at the Liberty Mike. Oh, I got some responses on the poll I'll have to talk to you about.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I appreciate those of you that responded. It's nice to have some interaction. There are fewer of you than I'd like, but those that are engaged, really appreciate it. And let's see. Yeah, that's all the things. Tell your friends and engage on the media sites, because all that stuff just helps.
Absolutely.
So we'll be back next week when we finally get this right. And in the meantime, try to stay free.
Life short, live free.
Ciao.
Later.